everyone, this is Danielle, and as you can see from the title of the video, this is my 18 and pregnant video, how I found out I was pregnant and then how my parents and the rest of my family found out I was pregnant. So I found out that I was pregnant when I was 18 in November of 2018. I found out the day after Thanksgiving, but prior to me finding out, the day before Thanksgiving, me and my boyfriend were over at my house. And we were just hanging out or whatever. We're watching a movie or something on TV, I don't know. And then me and my mom got into an argument. So after me and my mom got into an argument, me and him left. And I wasn't going to come home that night just because we really gotten into it. So I stayed out with my boyfriend that night. And I was starting to have suspicions that I was pregnant. I just didn't feel right. I don't know. It was really weird. But at the same time, I was cramping, so I didn't even suspect that I could be late for my period or anything. But then I looked at like the app on my phone that night, and I saw that I was like a week and a half late or so. But I didn't say anything to him, and I wasn't going to say anything to him because I didn't want to be all paranoid for me not to be pregnant. So I didn't say anything to him, but I told myself, I was like, okay, if I don't get my period like after Thanksgiving, then I'll take it before I go to work on Friday. Thanksgiving came, we hung out with our families, we hung out together for a little bit, and then we went to go hang out with our families, and no period. So I wake up Friday morning, I was getting ready for work, and I was like, all right, I have to take a test now. And I took 2 tests, and at first, they both came back positive immediately. But I was so in shock. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm pregnant. They're wrong. I took a digital test, the clear blue digital test, and then I took like a regular test. And so after I took those tests, I finished getting ready for work. I just put it out of my mind or whatever. And where I worked at the time was like in the same shopping center as like a grocery store. So I went to the grocery store, I bought another box of pregnancy tests, and I took them before our store opened. Now, they both came back positive again, like immediately. At that point, I knew I was really pregnant. It was kind of dumb of me to take it before I went into work because I had to go through my whole shift knowing I'm pregnant. What am I going to do? It was a long day. But anyway, after I found out, I texted him and I was like, I got something to tell you. And he was like, what? And so I sent him the pictures of the test. I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. Now, mind you, when I told him that I was pregnant, he was super calm about it. He's like, it's all right. We'll be okay. We'll make it work. And he goes, I figured you were anyway. I was like, what? He goes, you were different. I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, you were getting sick and you just weren't feeling good and you were just having different, things that were out of the ordinary for me. So he goes, I figured you were pregnant, but I was going to let you, figure it out for yourself. Thanks. Whatever. So I found out I was pregnant on a Friday. And then on Sunday, I left to go stay at somebody's house to watch their dogs for the week. Now, I think Sunday... Yeah. So Monday I started getting super sick and I couldn't eat anything. And I just figured it was normal morning sickness for pregnancy. And I know morning sickness can last like all day. So I really wasn't too concerned about on Monday. It was miserable. I couldn't keep water down, couldn't keep Gatorade down, couldn't keep saltine crackers down, couldn't keep anything down. So I was throwing up Monday and then I kept throwing up and kept throwing up. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so by the time like Friday comes, I had not eaten in 5 days or had anything to drink in 5 days. I was dehydrated. I was passing out. I was having a whole bunch of issues. So I decided, all right, I'll just go to the hospital just to get checked out. So they do all of like blood work, urine sample, whatever. And they come back and they're like, do you know you're pregnant? And I was like, yeah, I just found out a few days ago. And, so basically, they said that I had the hyperemesis something. I don't remember. But that I had to be on I had to be on medicines to control the nausea, the vomiting, the passing out. At the time all this was going on, they did find that I had low blood pressure. and I actually still do now, and I'm in my 3rd trimester. But now it's like better controlled, and they said because I have like a smaller frame that it's normal for me to be on the lower end, but it's like a safe lower. But when I was in the hospital, they were a little bit concerned, and so while I was there, they gave me a bunch of fluids. They gave me a couple different kinds of medicines, and then they sent me home with a prescription to help, so I wouldn't throw up anymore. And after I got the medicine, I stopped throwing up, but I still would feel like sick sometimes. So I was still kind of miserable, but it was manageable. And then, so that was Friday. I went home Saturday or Sunday after I went to the hospital. And this is where my mom found out. I wasn't planning on telling my parents until I was like in the 2nd trimester, just so I know like everything is good. So anyway, I got home, I'll put all my stuff in my room, all my baggage, whatever. And I had left my medicine bottle out because I'd just taken it for the night, and I was laying in my bed. Now mind you, my mom never comes up in my room, never. So I wasn't thinking about anything. And then I hear her come up the stairs, but by the time I heard her come up the stairs, I panicked because I realized my medicine bottle was still out, and I'm not on any like medicines normally. So she would notice, like, what do you have a medicine bottle for? Like, you haven't been to the doctor. So I like try to shove it in my purse and shove it under my bed, but by the time, I'm able to reach over and do all that, she's coming around the corner and she sees it and she's like, you're hiding something, what is it? Like, don't even try to lie because you're obviously hiding something. So I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get around this. So anyway, I told her, I was like, I just went to the hospital because I wasn't feeling good. I was just throwing up, and, it's kind of like I had the flu. Well, whatever. So she's like, well, what did they give you? What doctor did you see? She's asking me all these questions that had nothing to do with, anyway. So after she got done asking those questions, she was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so she walked back down the stairs. She brought me a candle. So she put the candle down, and then she walked back down the stairs, and then like halfway down the stairs, she just stopped. And I was like, oh no, she's putting it together. And then she asked me, are you pregnant? And I didn't say anything. So after I didn't say anything, I hear her walk back up the stairs. She's standing in my doorway, and she's like, are you pregnant? I was like, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do about it now? But yeah, I'm pregnant. And she didn't take it that well, which obviously, I was 18. Now, I've already graduated high school. I graduated high school in 3 years instead of 4. Sophomore year of college. So she was just asking me these questions, and then she just started crying. And when she started crying, she just went downstairs. So she went into her room. She cried for like a good 2 days after, she found out. So she found out, we were in December by then when she found out. So we're getting around Christmas time. It was like the beginning of December. But she told me, she's like, when she stopped crying the couple days after and she could like actually talk, she told me, she's like, I'm not ready to tell your dad yet, so don't tell him. I'll tell him when I'm ready, when I think it's a good time. After my mom found out, she obviously started telling her sisters, and then of course they told their kids. So like all my cousins, my aunts, uncles, they all knew. Everyone knew except my dad, which I felt really bad about. So everyone knows, like by Christmas time, everyone knows except him. After Christmas time was over, my parents went on a trip to Louisiana to go see family. And I was like, from where we live, it's about between an 8 and 10 hour drive, depending on traffic and everything. So along that drive, she told him, at this point, I'm going into my 2nd trimester. I was like 13 weeks and 1 or 2 days or something like that. So he found out like really late in the game. He found out when I was going to tell both of them. But my mom had already found out, so it didn't matter. But he took it a lot better than I thought he did. He took it well. I don't know how he took it when she first told him, and I don't know if I want to know. But later on, he called me that day and he was like, your mom told me that I was going to be a grandpa. And I was like, oh, she did? She didn't talk to me about that. So anyway, he was super nice, and he was really sweet. And my dad's not an emotional guy, so he was like real emotional. And he was just like, you know, we support you, da 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 da, but I just have to ask you this one thing. And he was just asking me that I would finish school, which I planned on doing that anyway. So that's when he found out, but everybody else already knew. So, you know, it's not always easy being young and pregnant, especially because my family's a little on the older side. Like, they had me really late. I was a surprise. So my parents are kind of old. They grew up in a generation where, you know, you graduate high school, you go to college, and you get married. Well, either way, it was just you get married before you have kids, and that you set your life up before you have kids. And I'm 18 having a baby. So I'll be 19 when he's here. So they definitely still struggle with that. It's just kind of, that's what they were taught growing up. So that's what they taught us growing up. And they struggle with it because they wanted me to be married. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not really somebody that wanted to, you know, really ever get married. But I understand where they're coming from. My cousins, they're all super, super great. They're super supportive. They're always asking how they can help, what they can do. But the funny thing is, my mom's sister, so my aunt, her son, one of her sons, they announced that him and his wife were pregnant on Thanksgiving. And so I was sitting at Thanksgiving like, oh my gosh, what if I'm pregnant? We're both going to be pregnant. So anyway, the next day I found out I was pregnant for sure. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, my cousin's brother, so my other cousin, announced that he got his girlfriend pregnant. So that's 3 babies. And we're all due in July. So it's not necessarily going to be easy, especially being in school, but, you know, I'm going to make it work just because it's important for me personally to finish school and, you know, be able to give an even better life to my child. But I am in the 3rd trimester and I'm due in July, and I'm so excited to be having a boy.